Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside Out with Sahas and Ali, where we talk about mental health, mindset, belief system, and push you to ask more whys to help you find the genius inside of you. Yes, I said genius because you are one. Today we have a very special guest with us. She's Alicia Wood joining us, and she's a fitness coach with her own business by the name of Camp Fuel. She offers one on one coaching and helps her client lead a healthier, balanced life. She's also has her own podcast where she talks about mental health, wellness, fitness, and self image. Alicia, thank you so much for coming onto the show today.
Oh, thank you. I'm really excited to be here. I can't wait to dive into this.
Okay, awesome. So, Alicia, before we get into talking more about the stuff that you do, like especially with the fitness, and we were just talking before we started the recording that I have been following you on what you're doing with on Instagram and LinkedIn. You have been really consistent in doing the stuff that you do. Where do you get that consistency from, and how did you maintain that?
Oh, that's so funny. It's part of my self-image. So I see myself as somebody who's consistent. And if I tell myself I'm going to do something, then I'm going to show up and do it. And yeah, I started doing short videos on LinkedIn. I don't even know, probably 3 months or so ago. And I'm showing up consistently pretty much every day with a new video just to help people get up from their desk and just feel better by moving their bodies.
Oh, that is
Perfect.
awesome.
And kind of jumping on that same question, since you're working with a lot of clients, how important do you think self-image is, and what kind of self-image problems do you see usually when you're working with clients that might have, let's say, a little rough background or need a little more help?
I think that what happens is most people, and I'm going to generalize here, but most people don't tune in to actually know how they see themselves. We kind of
Mm-hmm.
have two self images. We have our external self image, the one that we show off to the world. People can see us. You take a picture, and that's what I'm showing off to the world. And then we have our internal self image, which nobody else can hear. It's all the thoughts that we have in our head. It's all the things we say to ourselves. It's when we beat ourselves up. It's when we tell ourselves that we're awesome or we're not so awesome. But a lot of the time, people aren't listening um, to actually hear some of those things. We start to think that we see ourselves as like this, whatever we want to be, insert whatever you want here. But we have to tune in and go, am I actually seeing myself as that person? And I think that's the first level, is like awareness, just kind of tuning into those thoughts.
Yeah, that's really powerful, and it just reminded me of something that I'm also reading in the book that I'm reading right now, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Have you read it?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't. I've read The Power of Now, but I haven't read A New Earth yet.
Okay, so it's very something really inspired me from something that he used out there is like the consciousness or like the awareness which says I think is not the real consciousness that thinks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we can tell what the real consciousness, I mean, Eckhart Tolle is far ahead of me in this world, but we can kind of tell what our actual self-image is through our results. So if your results are not what you want your results to be, then your self-image isn't in line with where you want to be because you haven't yet achieved what you want. So on a conscious level, we can go, yeah, I love working out. I exercise, I'm healthy. And we can keep saying that to ourselves consciously. But if we don't believe that on a subconscious level, on that emotional level where we know it to be true, then we don't move into action, and then we don't get those results. So we have to start going, okay, so what is it that you want results wise, and then back it up to figuring out what you're thinking. Because oftentimes, like if we think about fitness, and even if I think about myself in the past before my weight loss journey, I was thinking, I hate exercising. Why can't I lose weight? Well, I had convinced myself and believed on a deep level that I hated exercise. And a person who hates exercise isn't getting the results that they want to get.
So, but like this was in fact my next question. What got you into this journey? Like, when did you realize that, you know what, I'm going to be fit and I'm also going to help other people to get into the fitness routine? How do you do
Yeah.
that?
So I used to work in television production, and I spent a lot of years there, and that was a very stressful environment, fast paced, and I really didn't take care of myself at all. And I kind of hit a breaking point, and we all have kind of that end point where it's like enough is enough in whatever situation it is. And when you hit that enough is enough point, then that's where the tip starts to happen. So I was just over it. I was over feeling uncomfortable in my body. I was over eating unhealthy. I was over just feeling like crap. And I decided that I was going to release the weight. And there was something different that time. It was like, no, it's happening. And every other, like I had tried this before. I was a constant dieter in the past, but every other time I was like, I'm going to try and lose the weight. I'm going to try. And it was also like to lose the weight. When you lose something, you typically find it, you pick it back up. So this was like, I'm going to get to my goal weight and there's nothing that's going to stop me. And that was just different, where that was the first time where my self-image kind of came into place of like, that's where I'm heading. That's the direction that I'm going. And so, yeah, I started eating healthier, joined a gym, started thinking like a person who enjoyed going to the gym, started enjoying going to the gym, and then released the weight and fell in love with it and wanted to help people that were in my past position feel awesome as well.
And how much
Wow.
time did it take for you to actually, start from zero level to the place that you are in right now?
You know what? I am terrible with time. I say this on every podcast interview that I do. People always ask me for a timeline. I'm going to say from then to now, it was about 10 years. From me, well, to be honest, if we back it up a little bit, there was a quitting smoking that started that world as well. I'd say about 10 years.
Okay.
But it doesn't need to take 10 years. That's
right.
just where I'm at now, having my own business, helping other people. But yeah.
Right. And it seems like anytime we're kind of making a new self-image, we kind of have to let go of our past self-image, which is so hard to do, right? When you're coming from a habit of, let's say smoking, for example, or overeating, it becomes something who you are. And like anything else, like going to the gym, that takes a long time to get used to. So what were your struggles kind of in that transformation process? That were you ever thinking, is this really going to be me? Can I actually keep this up? Because I sometimes want to go back and be the old person because it's easier, right? How did you keep that going? Because I know it's not an easy transformation.
Yeah. So yeah, of course I went back. Of course I thought like, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? Is the scale going to move? Those types of thoughts did come in. I would be a complete liar if I said it was just an easy path. Everything was fine. It was easier than it was in the past though. And there was this shift of, there were a lot of mental habits, like thought habits that I had, which were like, I can't not give in to my cravings. I'm just using double negatives here, but I always thought like, I have to give in to my cravings. I have to give in to my cravings. And so I thought I wasn't in control. I believed that I wasn't in control. And so long as I believed for so much of my life that I wasn't in control, I wasn't in control. I would be like, oh, I want a poutine, us being in Canada. I want a poutine. And so I'd be like, yeah, I'm getting one. There was no, maybe I'll have it tomorrow because I already had a burger for lunch. It was just, this is what's happening. Right. So, but the last time I did it, there was a shift that happened. There was a shift that happened in, oh, I can lead a balanced lifestyle. I think that was the biggest thing. For so long, I lived in diet culture where I was like, I can't eat anything. I can never have a poutine. And when this time it switched, it was like, I can both release weight and enjoy my life. And that was a huge shift because I knew like, oh, as I was going along, I was like, this is actually pretty easy. I'm still eating burgers now and then. I'm still doing these things. I'm still enjoying my time with my friends. And so it started to become easier when I started to focus on how I could live in both worlds rather than me having to say, I can't have this, or this has got to be hard, or dieting is hard, because we get that mindset of this is hard. And as soon as we put that label on it of it being hard, then that's what it will be.
So it seems like it was more of a mindset shift before it became a physical actual push. Because I mean, I've struggled with this before as well, but I noticed I do a lot of things and I give up in the middle because my mind's not in the right place. But as soon as I started believing, hey, I can do this, this is not too bad, it becomes a daily habit, right? So this time around, was there a moment where you actually sat down and thought to yourself, I'm going to do this, and you address your mental perception first before hitting the gym? Or was it that because you hit the gym, over time you slowly started believing in yourself and it became who you are?
That's a really good question. It's funny because when I did it that time, I didn't realize what I was doing. Like this is all me looking back, going, how did it actually work that time? So there was a moment where I had I had a discussion with some friends that threw me off, and it was a very distinct moment where I was like, fuck this, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to release the weight. And I had joined a program in that moment. So I took action immediately. And as soon as the idea came to me, so it was a thought, I'm done. And I felt it emotionally, I was done. And I immediately took action in joining a program. So I invested in myself. That's like a big thing as well, is like we invest money into things typically, and that kind of doubles down on our effectiveness of reaching goals. If we don't, as soon as you invest money in it, you're like, I've got skin in the game now. I don't want to back out on this. So we start to invest and things can start to change. So I invested in that. And that was a pivotal moment. But yes, it was thought, feeling, action, but it was quick action. I could have very easily, oh, this is so interesting. I never realized this before. I'm so glad you asked this question. I could have very easily said, I will join the program tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then my subconscious would have kicked in and would have been going, you don't need to. You're fine. You're doing great just the way you are. Do you really need to go and do that? That's going to change everything in your world. It's going to be really hard. And my subconscious would have talked me out of it. So I think it was that immediate action that helped me get to that spot. Because yeah, man, I've talked myself out of it so many times in the past. But what you're saying too is like you get to a certain point and then you're like, you are in the habit of doing it, right? But then you're not really in the habit of doing it. So you start going to the gym and then 20 days in, you're like, you've done enough. You've been okay. Yeah. You've done great so far. Yeah. It takes anywhere from, I think they say it's like 20, I might get the numbers wrong. I think it's like 18 days to 365 to build a habit, depending on how ingrained that habit already is. I mean, sometimes some things can switch immediately, but for the most part, things that you fight really hard. And for me, I fought the gym really hard. I had to keep going. I had to have that persistence and when that little voice in my head, a friend of mine calls it the shitty little voice in your head. When that shitty little voice in your head starts to convince you that you don't need to do the thing that you want to do, you got to keep going. And that's accountability buddies are good for that.
Yeah, like the reason, because exactly, that's the reason I asked this, because there were so many times I hit the gym and failed, where I would go for a month, and a month's a good number, right? 30 days straight. And you think, oh yeah, fuck, I'm doing it. I'm going to be the new me. And then something happens and you take a break and you're back to square one. Yeah. So this time around, I've been really, really consistent for, I don't know why, it could be a pain point in my life, something that pushed me. And two, I actually got a coach. So he kicked my ass every time I went in, and I found that to be really helpful. I don't have him anymore, but because I was going in so consistently that it it feels kind of weird not going to the gym anymore. It's who you are now, if that makes sense.
100%. And that's the whole thing, right? It's like you wanted to be this person that consistently went to the gym.
Mhm.
That was who your self-image. You were not that person before. You wanted to be the person who goes to the gym consistently. And so then you started thinking, well, what do the things that the person who goes to the gym consistently do? Well, they probably have a coach. So then you hired a coach,
Right.
you took action, you started going to the gym, and then you got yourself into the habit of it that you no longer need the coach anymore because it's so ingrained in you. It's so who you are that
Mhm.
you wouldn't go back because it would feel, because you're no longer the other person. You're somebody totally
Right.
different now. I love that.
100%.
Absolutely. So, like, I remember when I was a kid, I was like at the age of around 16 or 17, I must be around 180 pounds.
Yeah.
And, I got bullied a lot, and I got, I was called fat and everything and all that. And then one day came in and I was like, that's it. I got to go to the gym. And I did that. And obviously, like you said, you have to have an accountability. So you get a coach, and, I went on a very strict diet and everything. And now it's been like more than 10, 12 years, and I just don't want to go back. Like, even if I'm not doing so, like, you and I, we all are in Toronto, and the gyms and everything is closed. Right. And but that cannot be enough good reason for you not to exercise. Right.
Yeah.
It's just like so easy to switch and say, oh my god, the gyms are closed, so you cannot go. But if you look at it, all you need is a flow to do anything, if you really have a will and conviction to do it. And that's where the consistency comes in, right? Like, had this one year, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people, and it's also sad at the same time, a lot of people who have been so massively in tuned while going to the workout and exercise and everything, this last year would have shook a lot of people. Their
Yeah.
mindset, consistency, everything just went down the rabbit hole. So don't you? So what do you think? Like, one should, like, during the times like these when there were adversities, how could they have managed, and how is now the time to actually put themselves into some kind of a routine?
Yeah. I think a lot of people I mean, a lot of people have struggled through this. And when the pandemic hit, all of our habits were shook. And they were shook so much that ones that we had really ingrained in us, and there's probably some listeners that are like, I was an avid gym goer and now I just I can't get myself to move. And so what I would say to that is, first of all, let go of what happened in the pandemic. It's in the past now. Try not to look back at don't beat yourself up. That's the biggest thing. We tend to kick our own asses so hard, and I'm number one contender there. I'm working on it. I'm so always working on it. But let it go, forgive yourself, and then set a goal. Set a goal, get an accountability partner, hire a coach. Do what is going to make you feel good. Because if you think back, you probably felt a lot better when you were moving your body. And so getting back to that is just like a little bit at a time. You also don't need to go, I work out 5 days a week for an hour right away. At the beginning of the pandemic, my routine got shot too. And I came back in working out 10 minutes a day until I built myself back up, because that's all I could handle in the beginning. And so 5 minutes of walking, 10 minutes of walking, just moving a little bit is a great way of getting in the habit.
Mm. And
Right.
also at the same time, like physical exercises. And do you also, and I would think that you would agree, like having struggles with, food or nutrition at the same time, that would be also a lot of challenge, because everything is like chips, we'll just grab it and have it just like that. So how do we, like, people who are, who want to reduce weight, stuck at home, what should they do to not get their hands in the chips drawer anymore?
Well, to bring it back to the whole self-image thing, So if that's your goal, is to release some weight, get back in the habit of eating healthy and exercise regularly, then we can start to go, okay, well, what would the person with my results, how would they, with the results that I want, how would they think, how would they feel, and how would they act? Well, they would probably think about how easy it is to eat healthy, or easier it is to eat healthy when there's no crap in the house. So you'd want to change your environment and get rid of a lot of that stuff. Yeah, I started having like a little bit of a chip obsession throughout the pandemic. And then it's like, okay, we've had enough of this. Maybe we're going to allow the chips to not come into the house, or find something, a healthy alternative, switch to popcorn or something like that, like where you can start to ease yourself out. It doesn't have to be right away, everything goes, but maybe if you have one thing, if you could change one thing and that be a domino effect for all the other things, what could you change, that one thing that could ripple?
That is powerful. Yeah.
Now you did mention we were talking about the COVID part earlier as well, and I think this is going to be a nice segue, because we all like to snack time to time. You know, we all like to kind of get a pizza, whatever it is that our vice is. But do you ever fear yourself that, this might be me, but are you ever scared that you might fall back in your old habits, especially during COVID? Because you can't really, you're shot, you can't do much.
Yeah. Like to be completely frank, definitely crosses my mind. I do a lot of work. I do a lot of work on myself still consistently. And part of that work is I write out my goal every day, as if it's already happened. So I'm consistently writing out how healthy I am and how good it feels to exercise and all of those things, along with my business goals as well. But I'm consistent in seeing myself as that healthy person and consistently reinforcing to my subconscious that I am that healthy person. I make healthy decisions, I exercise regularly, and I feel good. But it's an ongoing practice. It's just like training, just like releasing the weight. I can't just stop exercising and it all goes away. I have to do the mental work as well.
Absolutely. And I would totally believe it through the kind of consistency that you are on the social media, because I'm sure it's like, you know, it just takes a click away to say that I don't want to make a video today, right?
Yeah.
The same goes with, like, you know, with workout and everything.
Oh yeah. And that's the same with like any habit. It's so interesting because some people have such strong habits in one area, and not as strong habits in the other area. But if you can see that you have strong habits in one area, then it's possible for you to do it in another area. It's just shifting your focus to like, what do you actually want your life to be? Because when it comes to self-image, we have automatic success mechanisms within us. And we are goal striving people. We just go for goals. But if we don't set the goal to be what we actually want, so let's just say if I didn't set the goal to be healthy and exercising regularly, and I kept saying to myself, I hate exercise, then your subconscious believes that's the goal and it goes after that. So we have to make sure that we're dialing in what we actually want, what our desires are, so that we can actually start moving towards them.
So the exercise you do specifically in the morning, like you said, writing down why you love working out, let's say, or writing down how far you've come. So you're basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're in tuning your desire towards something that's more, I guess, aligned with what you want to do. So for example, if I want to get more, become more active, if I woke up every morning and kind of went over the positives of having a routine, going to the gym on, continuously, would that subconsciously embed that I actually end up doing those things much more easily with less resistance? Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens is we have our thoughts, and our thoughts that we think over and over and over again become our beliefs. So when you get emotionally involved. Your beliefs are there when you're emotionally involved with, just like, the feeling when you're like, I just love working out. I like that. Or like that feeling of, I have to work out. This feels uncomfortable. It's deeply in you as a belief of this is who you are. So what I actually do is I take myself into the results. So I write down, I'm so grateful now that I exercise daily. So it's whatever your goal is that you're not quite at, or you want to maintain and still, and you're not in the early stages of that, or that it's a deep rooted thing and you want to keep working towards it. Writing like, I am so grateful now that I weigh X, I exercise, I move my body daily, whatever it is. And I really enjoy eating healthy foods. When you're writing that out over and over again, you want to see yourself in your mind. This is where we're going to go a little bit further. You want to see yourself in your mind at that healthy weight, being in whatever space you're at, writing it down, already being there in your mind as if it's already happened, so that it can seep into your subconscious. And the reason why I say you want to see yourself that way is because our subconscious mind can't tell the difference between what's real and you can see in front of your mind and what's imagined. So when you imagine yourself to be overweight, or you imagine yourself to fail in a job interview, or you imagine yourself to, trip and fall in front of your crush in high school, whatever it is, then your subconscious doesn't know that didn't actually happen. Your subconscious believes that that's true. And so it moves you towards you failing at that presentation, or eating the unhealthy foods, or stumbling over your words in front of that crush. So by writing it out, we're reinforcing what it is that we want to achieve and getting it to seep into your subconscious, so that exactly what you said is that we start to move into action a whole lot easier, because you believe you are that person.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, you still have to take steps. You still have to do the stuff.
Right. You can't just automatically think and you're it. I'm sure you've...
it will
right, Sahas and I were talking about that classic book, The Secret, that came out.
Sorry, you were saying?
Yes, remember we were talking about The Secret that came out many years ago, the book and the documentary, and they talk about the same thing. Bob Proctor's in there, and he talks about a lot of using the idea of the subconscious mind to get what you want, and that's like you said, like you said, pretending you're actually doing it, pretending like not saying that I want to be successful, but saying I am successful. And I never got that. I never really got what do you mean by that? How do I trick my brain into thinking I am successful, and what does that do for me? And until like much later in your life, I kind of realized, okay, so you're kind of training your brain into thinking in a more successful way. So you end up taking the actions unconsciously without even realizing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because and this comes back to the awareness too, is there are things out there going on that we actually can't see until we believe we are that person. So for instance, the idea of working with a certain coach, or the idea of joining a program, or starting at a certain gym or whatever, those types of ideas wouldn't come into our minds until we were at the level of awareness of the person with our goal, so that we can start to go, oh, that would get me closer to it. And even things, and I do this with business too, it's like certain things start to pop into your level of awareness when you start to think as if you are the person who's at that level. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I work with Hannah Khan as my coach, and she is mentored by Bob Proctor. So
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And when did you think that you can actually, have a business out of it? Or was that your goal, a part of how did it all get through, like everything started building up for you in this fitness journey for you?
Yeah. So I was in this is another self-image thing. I was in fitness classes and I was at the back of the room in the beginning and very uncomfortable. And I was like, I joined the gym because they had a soca dance class. And I was like, I love soca. Like, I can at least dance and enjoy the music and it'll be fun. So I followed what would be fun. That was the thing. Like, on my level of awareness, I was not going to be working out with weights at that time. So I followed the fun. And over time, I started to be like, oh, maybe I would like weights, and things started to change as who I was becoming was changing. And found my way up to the front of the class and was beside the instructor all the time, right to her right side. And she would always make jokes. Annalie was her name. And she'd always make jokes and be like, you should just teach the class. And I was like, go on, should I? Like, getting so excited about this praise. But I had social anxiety and I had stage fright, and there was no freaking way that I was going to feel confident enough to teach that class. And I didn't have the coaching that I have now. Now it would have been a lot faster of a process, but I wanted to teach. I was like, I want to go get my personal training certification. And it took me a year of imagining myself at the front of the room, not knowing that I was doing this, that I was doing the process, but I was imagining myself at the front of the room. Eventually, after a year of me thinking, could I do it? Maybe I can. I think I can. And it evolving, finally, I was like, okay, I'm going for my certification. And then it all started to happen really quickly. I never doubted. I doubted, I guess, getting hired a little bit, but the gym I was going to ended up hiring me. But it was, a desire that was completely out of my comfort zone and ended up being, and then it spiraled. Then it became, I loved helping people and I just wanted to leave television and help people in a different way.
This is amazing. And one thing that you actually touched upon is really powerful. Like you said that, you didn't want it, you were really anxious that you didn't want to be seen by everyone, like stage fright and everything. I think this is also really important that we need to understand that a lot of people suffer from that kind of an anxiety, standing in front of people, talking about it. How did you uncover that fear and, just embraced it? And how did you go in terms of, standing around it and dancing around it over the period of time? How was your experience, and what you could tell people, how can they also do it?
I moved into aggressive action. So it was like me visualizing it. I say, yes, visualize it and do your goal writing. That would be the thing, but start taking action, start taking steps, sign up for that course. It's just one foot in front of the other. But when it came down to me actually teaching, it was teaching as many classes as I could. Because the more classes I taught, the less anxiety I felt and the more confidence I had, because it was just who I was now as a fitness instructor. Like, you stand up in front of 30 to hundreds of people, depending on where you're at, and you teach. And,
Right.
and it completely turned on its head what I used to believe myself to be, because I used to, in high school, walk into a class and first day they'd be like, okay, so this is how this year is going to go. And your final grade is a presentation. And I'd be like, I have to go to the guidance counselor's office. I'm not doing this. And I would just go to the guidance counselor's office, make up some BS excuse and say I needed to change classes. And they let me. Like, that's what's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Now, Alicia, we talked about self-image a bit more, but I have another follow-up question on that. Now, so I'm pretty sure you deal with a lot of clients that have self-image issues. One thing Sahas and I have rapidly come across many people saying is that I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm too fat, I'm too ugly, I'm not smart enough, whatever it is, right? Born in the wrong family, something about them that's holding them back. What would you tell them, and what would you say in, let's, like, the same exercises you're using, would you be able to implement that in that same level, even though if it's ingrained in them so deeply that there's something physically or mentally wrong with them?
I mean, not as a therapist. I would say like you could talk to a therapist. The other thing is I did talk to a therapist when I first started teaching fitness classes because I had a big fear of judgment. So talking to a therapist is incredible. I use a lot of positive affirmations. So on top of my goal writing, and I might go back and forth, but I'll write out I am statements. And that comes back to who you believe yourself to be. And so if you are the type of person that says I am the type of person that X, or you're saying I am X, tune into those things that you say, and then let's start to, and it may not be flip them, because it might feel too, it may not be like smart, or I am not smart, to I am brilliant, might feel a little too much, but I'm learning every day. I'm getting better and better every day, and starting to do that. The other thing is, look at the people around you and see what qualities are you seeing in people that you admire around you. And if you're like, man, they're so smart, they're so beautiful, they're so poised, like they're so eloquent with the way that they speak, any of those things, it would actually be impossible for you to see that in somebody else if you didn't have it in yourself. So for anybody that's listening, if you've ever said any of those negative things to yourself, but you've seen the positive side of it in somebody else, it's in you. You are that person. It's just a matter of pulling it out a little bit more. And if there's something that makes you feel confident, just do that a little bit more. You don't have to do the things that bring you down. Let's focus on the things that make you feel awesome.
Focusing on the strengths, right? Not on the weaknesses.
Yeah. It hurts me so much to even think that people are, I mean, yes, of course, we all have like that self-judgment and those things, but yeah, trying to turn it around as much as possible and find heroes, like find your people that you look up to, mentors, and see what it is that you love about them. And then sometimes I do an exercise with my clients where it's like you write out all of the character traits that you love about like 3 of your people that you most admire, and then see how that's just a mirror. Everything is a mirror of ourselves. So if you see that in somebody, it's in you. You're seeing it in yourself. Same with the things that we hate about people. Just if you hate somebody because they're annoying, there's something about them that you see in yourself.
That's really good advice, though. That's a really good point.
So just asking the same thing, like the statement that you said about the heroes. Who are your heroes, if you will ask? Who do you think are your heroes?
So I really admire Jen Sincero, who wrote "You Are a Badass." She is a coach, and she just has a really great way of speaking and making things really understandable. And I love that about her. And Dax Shepard, when it comes to podcasts, I think he's an incredible podcaster. I think he's a great interviewer. And I look up to him a lot when I'm doing my podcast interviews. And Hannah Khan, my coach, she is incredible. She's so empowering. She's just beautiful. So yeah, those would be 3. I have tons. They switch all the time. What about you guys? Who are your people? Who would you look up to?
Ali, you want to say first?
Tough one. This is gonna be a tough one. Let's see. So the first person I'm always really, I'm not sure some of you might know him or not. Sahas, you might. Stefan Arniel. He was pretty big in the real estate game, but he switched to mindset, politics, and even though I don't agree with him on a lot of things, I admire the fact that he came from really like small, humble beginnings. He used to be a guitar teacher making $10,000 a year, became to going and becoming a multimillionaire, selling insane amount of courses, helping people around. It was a nice transformation. I can really see how he worked on himself to get to that level. So that's one person I really, he inspires me in a way that, hey, if he can do it, people like us can. who actually have a decent job and actually are working on themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
What about you, Sahas?
If you know me better, then you would already know the answer. It's
Yeah, I do. I knew you say that.
So I love that guy. So I remember the time when, almost couple of months back, I wrote an email. So have you heard about Seth Godin?
No,
Seth,
I don't think
Seth
so.
Godin is basically, he's you could say the father of modern marketing. And the book by the name of Lynchpin has been written by him, Purple Cow. And
Okay.
it's not really about the marketing, but understanding human psychology mostly. And talking about like how even we're talking about brands, we're talking about marketing, all of that stuff, but at the end of the at the core we are humans, so we have to treat each other with kindness and empathy, and that is the main core of his message. And I remember that a couple of months back, I was reading one of his another books, and I thought I'll send him an email. And I send an email that, what, I have three things to tell you. One is that things that I'm doing is actually to create things that matter. And I said something else, and I said the third thing was, my wife thinks that you look like Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda. So it was
Kind of
funny.
does.
Yeah, he does, right? So I got an email back from him, and I was like literally jumping all over the place. Like,
Oh,
and he was like, yeah, thank you so much for saying that, and thank you for leadership. But this is what I really like about, teachers and people who actually are sages from their hearts. For them, they're like, they're the guiding lights, and they want to be guides into somebody else's life, and not the heroes. So I
Mhm.
think this is what I actually get a lot, and I truly worship him in that case, because even the work that I do, my personal branding or brands marketing and everything, it's so much inspired by just a very small thing, which is like empathy, kindness, and humanizing your everything and anything that you're doing. And I learn a lot from him in that case. So yeah.
yeah. Oh, I love that. I find that the more I connect with like people like you, then the more we start to realize like it all kind of comes back to human. Like even when it comes to real estate or marketing or business podcasting, it all comes back to being a good person and wanting
Right.
to help other people. And we want to help. I mean, both of our podcasts are there so that we can help people feel awesome. And the people that we admire are people that just want to make other people feel awesome. So it makes sense that we're drawn into that world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I noticed that like attract likes, or like attract like. Basically, the idea is that one reason Sahas and I get along so well is because we have the same mindset and energy. But and it's funny, I was never like that before until like the last couple of years, and now I go back and talk to my old friends, and we have nothing in common anymore. And it's funny now because I've again been consistent with the gym, got a coach, and all that stuff, and like reading all these books. For some reason, I'm attracting the same like-minded people out of nowhere, and I find that fascinating, whether it be opportunities, friendship, partnerships, anyone, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to imagine the self-image, since we're talking about that, the self-image I had, let's say a few years ago, would be able to even hold a conversation in this kind of arena versus now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's completely self-image. And it's so interesting. I mean, that is the law of attraction, is what you put out, you speaking of the secret of what you get back in. And so
Right.
it's incredible. Everything kind of shifts. It's funny. Today I was on a coaching call with my coach, and she was talking about, if you have big goals, if you have big dreams, if you have big desires, if you want to help a lot of people and you want to make a big impact on this world, you're going to have to let some people go along the way. And it's unfortunate. And it's like, it sounds terrible. And it's like, no, there's nothing bad. It's not like we have to have like some sort of a fight or falling out, but you're going to end up attracting those new people into your world that line up with you and help you reach the levels that you want to get to.
Exactly. Now, following up on that, sorry, Sahas, you're last. Okay. So what kind of people have you attracted so far, and what kind of people have you let go in your short description that if you look back 10 years ago to now?
I let go of people who were very negative. So anybody who would just want to call and bitch, like that used to be my life. I used to talk to people all the time and we would just bitch about work, about everything. And it was, I mean, I can feel it in my body. It's like feels uncomfortable. It's stressful. And so I had to let go of that stress. I still love all of those people. And we see each other, but they're not in my life as much. And then I've attracted people who think in a similar way that I do, that speak the same language that I do. Like we're speaking a language here that if I went and spoke to people in my past, they might be like, what Kool-Aid is she drinking?
Yeah, absolutely. And I see that too, like with like people from the past, there is no conversation. There cannot be any conversation that can be made with them anymore. Do you feel that?
Yeah. There's sometimes there's just like, and I just don't talk about this type of stuff all the time. When I am with certain people, I just know that it's not going to be received. So I don't put it, I just don't put it out there, and that's fine.
And that's
we're all at a different level of awareness. That's the thing, right? Like it's not that anybody is better or worse than anybody. We're all equal. We're just at those different levels of awareness depending on what our goals are.
Absolutely. And this is what even I say, like even with my workshops and branding and whatever, that everybody is an expert. Everybody is an expert. It's just that you are at a different level on expertise. For a person like on level 1, if you're at a level 2, you're an expert. So,
absolutely.
But it's just that you are comparing in your head with the topmost level of the person, so which is why you think that you are not one, but you are. So, and also like, I just want to go back again to the thing that you talked about, humanity. Like the thing that actually got us connected is we are talking about humanity. I saw your pictures, the way that you're posting your videos. The first thing that I got most I got engaged was through your happiness, that you're happy, right? And that is such an important thing to realize, that a lot of, and it's so easy to differentiate also on social media, like what is real and what is fake, right? And when I saw your post, like anything that you're doing, you're really enjoying it. It felt like that, it's your journey, and you're just sharing your journey the way, in the most organic way possible, which got me to connect with you. And that's what we are doing today.
That means so much to me, because I am authentic is something that I write out all the time, because the inauthenticity, I fear it. It's one of those things where I see it in other people and then I go, oh gosh, do I think that I'm inauthentic? And then I have to like catch myself in it and be like, no, you're showing up as you. Yeah. But it's constantly catching myself and going, is this true to me? Is this real? Is this how I feel? And that's why I share so many of my struggles. That's why I'm so open about like current struggles. Even I've been trying to get better and better with that. But I am authentic is something that I definitely write out all the time. So I appreciate that you see it in those videos. Those videos are my favorite thing to do. I always feel way better after I make them. And so I'm always like, please, I hope people are participating, because these have the ability to like boost your mood.
And it really shows. I mean, it's like, it's such a genuine effort that you're doing. It's not like a clickbait. It's not like because trust me, because the reason why I'm saying it, because I belong to the marketing background. So I know like what looks good on the camera, why people are doing that, or what is actually people really enjoying the process of actually doing it. And it shows so much in the way, the things that you're doing. Just keep on doing that. That's amazing.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Ali, you have any question?
Yes. Based on that, well, not this specific question, but I always go back because we were talking a lot about a lot of things. I want to know, what are some of the things that you do daily to, like you mentioned, that sometimes you have to catch yourself when you're going back in that rabbit hole. Sahas and I were talking about this. Sometimes we get this little devil's hand kind of creep up on our shoulder, pull us back in to the old days, how things were simple, even though they were not so simple.
Yeah.
After traveling and after doing so much of self-work and self-development, how often do you still get those moments? Is there ever a time where let's say you can go like a whole week or a few days without ever thinking about or doubting yourself or thinking about the older days? Or do you think it's becoming better as you go?
I think that something new always pops up. So I don't think that you're ever going to escape that voice.
Mm-hmm.
The voice is always going to be there. The voice is your subconscious trying to keep you in your comfort zone. And so I realize this is a podcast, but I'm like drawing a line with my hands. As your comfort zone moves, so if your wall moves back,
mm-hmm.
then you just start striving towards a new goal. Therefore, your comfort zone moves again, and you keep going, oh, can I do that? Can I do that? Can I do that? It's never going to go away. It's the fear lives with you always. It's getting comfortable with the fear being with you. That's the biggest thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not going away. And the more you fight it, it's an ongoing battle. It's how can you start to understand that like this is as long as I strive for something bigger, it's always going to be there creeping in.
Right. And Sahas mentioned this earlier, there's never going to be a level of perfection or a level of final expertise. There's always going to be another boundary to push. So you can either stay in your comfort zone and be so confident that nothing happens, or you can keep pushing and keep having the doubts that, oh, I might fuck up, I might fail. Has it ever stopped you before, though, from taking action?
Heck yeah. Of course it has. Can you imagine if I said no? It stops me all the time. All the time. I have big dreams. And so my big dreams scare the crap out of me. And I'm constantly evaluating and going, and Bob Proctor talks about a terror barrier, and it being the point where like you have to go through the terror barrier and get to the other side. But most people go, I have this, like, you're like, I have this great idea. I'm going to do this thing. And then you're really excited about it in the beginning. And then you start moving towards it. Maybe a few days pass and you're like, oh God, that's really scary. Maybe I shouldn't bother. And then we kind of go back. That's the cycle that most people stay in. That's that wall, right? So it's moving past that wall. But yeah, there's so many times I haven't sent that email. I haven't made that call. I haven't asked for that sale. I haven't gone to I didn't join that program. I didn't sign up with that coach. Hell yeah. But I have to forgive myself. I spent so much time today writing out like for forgiveness, forgiving myself for my air quotes failures, and knowing that those are learning opportunities. But yeah, I've completely, but I just keep going. So until you stop, stopping is the only way that you're going to fail, is if you just don't keep going for it.
That's a good point. I like that. I can resonate with that. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Basically.
And it gets easier. Yeah. Like think of everything that was scared you at one time. At one time.
Yeah.
It scared you the first few times, and you're like, oh, this is easy. Like, and then it just becomes who you are, and it becomes natural, and you're like, I can't believe that was a thing. And so it's just, if you can look back to and find evidence of those times and go, oh yeah, because we've all accomplished greatness. So if you can go back and go, when were the times that I accomplished this greatness? What were my steps? What was I thinking? How was I being? And then redo that, and just take action.
That's awesome. I like that, because you know what? We all have those moments where we look back and think, hey, I did that. I can do this now. But we keep forgetting, we keep downplaying our accomplishments for some reason, and it's so easy. Now, I mean, one more time, I gotta thank you again for coming on the podcast. I do want to ask one last question. It is more like a signature question we ask all our guests. If you, let's say you're 99 years old, right? And everything you've accomplished in life, let's say, it's all gone. And if you could go back and talk to your grandkids, living the life you had and going through everything, what would be 3 pieces of advice you would give them, knowing that coming from a position that you've lost everything, and even though you've accomplished it at one point, what would you tell them?
Enjoy the present moment
Mhm.
as much as you can. Collect experiences, not things. And love and let love in. Oh God, I might cry.
Those are the good pieces of advice. I like that.
Yeah. But this is really
Yeah.
wonderful. We really enjoyed talking to you and love your spirit.
The feeling is mutual. I wasn't feeling my best before this conversation, and I'm uplifted now having talked to both of you. So thank you so much for having me.
No, same here, because I think you have a very important role in this world to do, and you are
Mhm.
already on the path of doing that. And in whichever way, see, everybody has an impact to make in life. And it doesn't matter what level of impact, but has an impact to make in life. And you are making an impact in your life. And we really wanted to help in whichever way and form possible, so that people from our listeners, like people who are listening to our podcast, also get some value from the things that you are sharing. Because I know I can talk about my personal experience with you right now. It's been an amazing experience,
I'm
because
so
this is the
grateful.
energy that we're talking about, and this is the life that we're talking about. It's more towards happiness, empathy, greatness, and this is what life is. So thank you so much, Alicia, for doing this, and we are really, really positive, great things are happening, will happen for you, are happening for you, and all the best wishes for you.
Same to you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And
I really appreciate you.
And before you go, if somebody wants to contact you, let's say for coaching, advice, or whatever it may be, where can they reach you out to?
Yeah, I think Instagram's probably the best, alicia.rose.wood. Or you can look up Alicia Wood on LinkedIn, and you can catch some of those videos as well. But yeah, reaching out to me on Instagram would be great.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Alicia. We do appreciate you coming on. It was great talking to you.
Thank you.